Today, we're diving into a really powerful story about economic hardship. It comes from an article in Dawn newspaper, and it shows us how millions of people are dealing with a crushing cost of living crisis, all through the story of one man.
I mean, just read that line. He has started skipping lunch. Wow, that just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? It's so simple, but it's so stark. So you have to ask, who is he? And what on earth has pushed him to this point? Let's find out.
All right, so the man we're talking about is named Iqbal. He's a driver for a rent-a-car company in Pakistan, and this guy works hard. We're talking 6, sometimes even 7 days a week. But here's the thing about his story. It isn't unique. In fact, it's the quiet struggle that a huge portion of the country's population is going through right now. You know, if you just rewind a couple of years, Iqbal was doing okay. Between his salary, his overtime, and whatever tips he could get, he was bringing in around 65,000 rupees a month. And that was enough, enough to support his wife and their 2 school-age kids, and even put a little money aside. He had a stable foundation. But that foundation, well, it was about to crack.
So this is where the pressure really starts to build. A massive wave of inflation hits, and it just starts to unravel Iqbal's financial stability, squeezing his budget from every single direction.
And just like that, boom, his ability to save anything, gone. Now he's barely able to cover his routine expenses. That little buffer he used to have has completely vanished. So what exactly happened? Well, the culprits are probably going to sound familiar to a lot of people. His utility bills, we're talking electricity and gas, have just skyrocketed. The cost of food has pretty much doubled. And here is the absolute kicker. While all of his expenses have shot through the roof, his income has stayed exactly the same. He's trying, he's actively looking for more work, more overtime, but it's just not enough. And look, this isn't just Iqbal's reality. The article cites national survey data showing that people all across the country are cutting back on essentials, including food. This economic squeeze isn't just hitting the poorest, it's affecting the middle class too. But for Iqbal, things were about to get a whole lot worse.
So right when he was already struggling just to stay afloat, a personal crisis hit his family. A sudden, serious health shock that would turn his financial struggle into an absolute catastrophe.
His wife was diagnosed with multiple conditions that all need continuous, long-term care. And that's the key part, right? This wasn't a one-time expense. It meant constant costs for doctor's fees, for diagnostic tests, for regular medicines, and it just pushed their budget way, way beyond the breaking point. So you have to ask yourself, why does a common life event, like a health issue, become a complete financial disaster? Well, this is where you really start to see the gaps in the public support system. Iqbal did what you'd expect. He took his wife to a public hospital. And yeah, the state subsidizes the doctor's fee, which is great. But then they told him he had to get all the diagnostic tests done at expensive private labs. And all the medicines, he had to buy those from private pharmacies at full price. So the biggest, most crushing costs were left entirely for him to deal with. And there's simply no safety net there to catch him. Social support programs are really only designed for the very poor, which means they completely leave out this huge segment of the working poor, people just like Iqbal. And this is a critical gap, because as the article points out, health shocks are the single most common reason that families like his get pushed into poverty. So with these medical bills piling up, a budget that's already squeezed, and no support system, Iqbal has fallen into a situation that economists have a specific name for. He is in a debt trap. It's exactly what it sounds like. He's borrowed from relatives, from friends, even from kind clients, but he's completely exhausted those options. There's little chance he can pay back what he already owes, yet his monthly expenses are still higher than his income. It's an inescapable cycle. The article poses this incredibly direct and powerful question, one that forces us to really confront the reality of his situation. I mean, really, what is a person like Iqbal supposed to do? Let's break it down. Can he just work more? It's not that easy to find extra work. Could he pull his children from school? With high unemployment, that's not a real solution, and it just damages their future. Borrow more money? He's out of people to ask. Every single path is a dead end. So if there are no good solutions for him as an individual, then where does the responsibility lie? Well, the author of the article argues that this is where we need to start looking at the bigger picture. And the author's conclusion is blunt. This isn't on Iqbal to solve. It is the responsibility of the state to create a system where a health shock doesn't automatically lead to poverty.
So what would that look like? Well, creating more opportunities for people to earn a living would be a start. But the biggest impact would come from extending quality healthcare and quality education to all citizens. These are the kinds of big systemic investments that could provide a real safety net for families like Iqbal's.
But the article ends on this really challenging note. The author suggests that these necessary changes face a major obstacle, a system that isn't actually designed to serve the majority. And that leaves all of us with a final, difficult question. How can a society build a safety net for everyone when its very structure might be the biggest barrier of all?